If only YouTube didn't delete my previous channel, What About, you would find past videos on my channel talking about Elon Musk once he decided to jump on the Trump train after being dismayed by the Biden administration, and how he would forever be a red flag. I also acknowledge that he would be a useful asset due to his vast resources. But ultimately, when you're a lifetime liberal, like literally into your 50s, because he was 50 years old when he decided to jump on the Trump train, you really can't be trusted. Quite frankly, anybody that's been a liberal past 30 can't be trusted, because you can use the excuse, it was my youth. So children can be excused, even early to mid 20 somethings. But past 30 and still a libtard, there's really no changing any stripes on that zebra. And this recent outburst with Elon Musk not getting what he wants and going straight to the personal attacks, alleging Trump is a pedo on Epstein list. I mean, he might as well call him a Nazi, call him a racist. He had the typical libtarded reaction, which again is why I stated he was a red flag. Him being an Amber Heard simp, that was another instance of a red flag. And not too long ago, when he made it perfectly clear how he felt about native-born Americans in relation to his H-1B project, him and Vivek wanting infinite Indians in this country because they're smarter and less lazier than Americans, that was yet another opportunity for people to realize who and what this dude is. And again, all it took for him to go completely off the deep end was for Trump and his big, beautiful bill to not factor in everything that he wants for his own personal wealth and gain. Now he's out here quoting some guy named Eon Chung, who apparently is a foreigner that doesn't even live in America, but is always commenting on America. He's advocating tweets to replace Trump, impeach Trump, and replace him with J.D. Vance. And then he's proclaiming he's responsible for Trump winning the election, even though we know that Trump won the second time he ran, but that was clearly exposed that it was stolen, with all the illegals voting, the black women, the 92% black women that vote Democrat, being at a lot of these voting stations. And we know that they have no qualms about committing crime, which is why they put a lot of those fat black women there. But yeah, that's all it took. And I feel like part of it is him, again, reacting like a typical liberal would. But also, he's probably trying to regain ground with liberals, because he foolishly think he can just go back to them. The same way he foolishly thought he could just support Trump and they wouldn't attack him the way they attacked Trump. It's the sort of naivete that Donald Trump himself had. He thought, hey, my friends wouldn't turn on me, flip on me, simply because I run for president as a Republican. He's been around these celebrities and elites for decades now. They came to his casino. They came to his hotel, stayed at Trump Towers, interact with him and his wife and his family. They shouted me out in songs and allowed me to cameo in their movies. Of course they wouldn't flip and turn on me. But again, being a naive, quite frankly, white man, because most of so-called white people in this country are grossly naive to the fact that all the POCs and Israel First Jewish conglomerates are all seeking to destroy them and replace them. I mean, we see that clear as day with white liberals in general. They truly believe that they had POC allies. Little do they realize once they are able to handle Republicans or conservatives completely, they're going to come out there, they're liberal white asses as well. I mean, quite frankly, they're already catching straight bullets through illegal immigrants and American-born POC thugs that commit crimes in liberal neighborhoods, which captures white liberal lives as well. So all around the board, there is a naivete. But the clear difference here is that, again, Trump hasn't been a lifetime libtard. I mean, we can see in his old interviews dating back to the 80s, he's been pretty much saying the same things back then that he's saying now. You know, it's only Elon who waited until his 50s to, flip-flop. And again, as I stated in previous videos that are now permanently deleted due to my channel being deleted, my old YouTube channel being deleted, that type of person is a permanent red flag. Again, I appreciate the resources that he contributed, the concept of Doge, but the reality is someone like that could never be an ally, especially a liberal elite. Because there's one thing between a pedestrian liberal, 9-to-5 worker, unemployed, underemployed liberal, and a liberal elite. And a liberal elite especially can't ever be trusted because a lot of their resources and funds comes from the globalists that they are literally rubbing elbows with and are in the same rooms with. And also it should be cited, a lot of the inaction and the disappointments that's going on with the Trump administration is because of the uniparty, aka GOP, which is doing everything to slow the agenda with mass deportations, removing and arresting corrupt judges and Democrats. And so they are at fault as well. But the fact of the matter is, Elon Musk is the one that decided with these personal attacks by alleging Trump is a pedo, saying that that's the reason why the Epstein files won't be released. When we all know if he was on that list, he would have been in prison since 2016. Because they would have took that list, saw that he was doing dirt, and just isolated him and put him in prison. And if you don't believe that they can take a list full of people that did dirt but only go after one person, just look at the P. Diddy situation. He's a prime example. You have you have decades worth of Diddy parties, an endless list of celebrities and politicians. They hit him with the RICO, but he's the only one being seriously charged. The only notable name being seriously charged. Again, that's a prime example of how, yes, they can isolate one person from a laundry list of people when they want to attack that person. So, point is, if they had Trump doing dirt and he was on that Epstein list as evidence, we wouldn't even be talking about Donald Trump. Outside of, is he still alive in prison? That's the fact. And then also you have to remember in Trump's first administration, when Musk was on Trump's advisory council. Musk quit the Trump advisory council over the whole Paris Accord decision. So, that was his previous history. But again, I understand Trump probably expecting Elon to flip, but still utilizing his resources because, Trump would have to be severely naive now not to understand that these people that act like his friend and his supporter won't just turn against him once they don't get what they want. I mean, again, just think about all the Negroes that shouted him out in songs and shouted him out during various engagements like the Jesse Jacksons of the world when he supported his attempt to become the first black president, the Al Sharptons of the world when he supported his little organization. The friends like Alec Baldwin and other actors and athletes that flipped on him. Diddy being another example of that. And so he probably expected it. But he was still smart enough to use his resources because he knew he was up against the beast. And again, the fact that they try to take him down over sex crimes with a porn star and that Jane chick, and then they tried to shoot him, bankrupt him, lock him up. I mean, they wouldn't have been making all of those attacks and attempts if all the way back in 2015, 2016, they had him dead to rights on an Epstein list of doing something wrong. In fact, the only information we do actually have is that Epstein got kicked out of Mar-a-Lago in 99 because Trump was made aware of him being a creep, being a predator. That's what we do know. But again, Elon Musk gave a typical libtard reaction, which is why you can't ever trust a liberal that claims that they've all of a sudden seen the light after 30. You can't. But again, we'll see if this stops liberals from encouraging and enacting terrorist attacks against his company. We'll see if it does anything to affect that. We'll see if or when the Democrats get back into power, if their DOJ won't go after Elon still. Because I'm sure he's thinking about that, which is probably another motivator. He probably assumed, well, the Red Party is not going to be in control of the DOJ for my entire lifetime, realizing that he's not as old as Trump. He's, currently 53 years old. And so even if you get a run with J.D. Vance for at least 4 more years, there's still plenty of time, lifetime for Elon Musk, barring something else happening, that they can still weaponize the DOJ and come after him for supporting Trump. So, quite frankly, I expect him to further slander and defame Donald Trump. And according to the Democrat Party's official Twitter account, they brought up the Epstein list and insinuating Trump is on there criminally. And we know the big joke that is, because they had the White House, and every other source of power for 4 years and they didn't do anything. But, it appears Democrat Party Twitter is echoing Elon Musk. And like I said, he's probably hoping for that so he doesn't have to be concerned when Democrats take back over control. But anyway, that's my thoughts on this situation. Can never trust someone that's been a liberal after 30.